Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to today's session. Alright, I hope I am audible. Okay, so anyway, let's start our session for the day. So today, this is an outgoing part of our NCERT series where we have already covered Standard 6 and Standard 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 NCERT history textbooks. Now we are in the final textbook, that is Standard 12 Indian History Part 3. Okay, so today is lecture 5 out of 6. So by tomorrow we will be completing our entire NCERT series of history, and from day after tomorrow we will go back to current affairs. Okay, current affairs MCQ sessions will be starting from day after tomorrow, and it will be done month-wise. So Wednesday, January, Thursday, February, like that. MCQ sessions will happen from Wednesday onwards. Okay. Good evening, LS. Welcome. Okay, so today is the 5th lecture out of the 6th lecture part of Part 3, Themes in Indian History, 12th Standard textbook. So without any further ado, let me start the session. And before we begin, as usual, let me just talk to you about Unacademy. Unacademy is India's largest learning platform, and it offers you a lot of things, starting with daily live classes where you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, clear your doubts, etc. etc. Live tests and quizzes where you can evaluate your own preparation, be more confident during the time of exam, so and so. And structured courses where the entire syllabus of that particular examination will be covered. Finally, unlimited access to all the Unacademy resources according to your subscriptions. Okay, so all these are provided to you by Unacademy, and in order to get all these things, first thing to do is download Unacademy Learning app. Download this app for free from Google Play or App Store and subscribe. Create an account and get a subscription. Alright, so I am Madhav Sankar R Warrier. This is my Telegram channel and my Unacademy channel. Please follow these channels to get notified of my classes. I will upload all my class notes and PDFs into this Telegram channel. Okay, t.me/msrw1. Alright, moving on. So Unacademy brings you the top educators from all over the country. Most of them are very familiar to you already. So please do look into their classes also, so that you can benefit from their expertise and their discussions. Alright, so the UPSC CSE package of Unacademy looks like this. You have all the basic subjects such as polity, history, current affairs, etc. etc. Also, optional courses are included in the UPSC stream. So please do look into optional courses as well. Almost all the optionals provided by UPSC are here in Unacademy also. Okay, so the basic package, also known as the plus package, is something like this. So a 1 year, or starting all the way from 1 month all the way to 3 year subscriptions are available. A typical 1 year subscription will cost you 49,500. But if you go for if you use my code MSRW1, you can actually get 10% discount and has to pay only 44,550. Okay, so using my code in any of these subscriptions will give you 10% off. So plus package will include everything that I have so far mentioned. Also, for any subscription that is greater than or equal to 6 months in time, you can pay the fees using the no cost EMI facility. Okay, no cost EMI facility is available. The other kind of subscription is known as iconic subscription. Here, 3 packages are available: 1 year, 2 year and 3 year. 1 year package will cost you 69,500. But again, using my code will provide you 10% discount and has to pay only 62,550. So what is the benefit of iconic? In iconic, along with your plus package, you will also be getting a personal coach or a personal trainer, or a mentor or whatever you want to call him. And that person will be there to assist you throughout your exam preparation time. One-on-one session with the educator, like that. Then daily mains answer writing practice, study planner, personalized feedback sessions, etc. etc. Okay, so these are the benefits of iconic. So do grab your subscription as soon as possible. And finally, regarding the optional courses, we have only one package here. There is no plus or iconic here. It's just one package, starting from 1 month all the way to 3 years. A typical 1 year package will cost you 27,500. Using my code MSRW1 will give you 10% discount also. Okay, so please do look into them and grab a subscription as soon as possible. So regarding the Unacademy Combat, I hope you have already participated in the first leg of this contest, which happened yesterday, December 6th. 11 a.m. There are attractive prizes available. I think you already know the format by now. If you do not know, please look into this. This is the format. 45-minute session, 60 questions, 13 combats, and so on. This is a fortnightly event. So happens on alternate Sundays. So another session is coming on December 20th. So be ready for it. All India topper will get an Apple MacBook Air. Second place will get Apple iPad Mini. Third place will get Apple AirPods. And the top 100 rankers will actually get 1000 rupees shopping vouchers from Amazon. Okay, so make sure to grab these prizes and actively participate in Unacademy Combat. So Unacademy also provides you a lot of free stuffs. Okay, many free stuffs are there. But in order to unlock these free stuffs, you have to enter an educator code. So you can give my code MSRW1 if you want to unlock many free contents in Unacademy. Okay, no payment or anything. Simply provide the code and you can unlock them. Fine? Okay, so let's begin the class. Themes in Indian History, Part 3, Lecture 5 out of 6. How to prepare notes for NCERT? Yeah, okay. Good evening, Prabha. Hello, Supriya. Preparing notes for NCERT, I mean, for prelims and mains, it's two different things. Okay, basically, while you prepare notes for prelims, it's one thing. Preparing notes for mains, it's another thing. As far as prelims are concerned, you can go for, selective statements. Look for, first of all, read the previous year questions. That is how you can get an idea of how the UPSC frames questions. Okay, without that, it's not possible. Read at least the past 5-year questions. Then you will know the way in which UPSC asks the questions. And then once you read the NCERT textbooks, you will understand which all points are to be noted down. Okay, for your prelims. For your mains, that's not like it. For your mains, you have to read that passage and then you have to understand whatever is the meaning that is conveyed through that passage. Okay, so in my sessions here, I try to do both. I try to give you prelims pointers as well as mains pointers. I condense the entire thing into smaller sections and help you to identify the broader concept that is underlying in each of these paragraphs. Okay, so anyway, make sure to read the NCERT textbooks very thoroughly. It's very important. For your ancient India, you can read the old NCERTs, but for your medieval and modern, you can go with your new NCERTs also. Okay, so that is it. Moving on. If you have any further queries, put in the YouTube live chat. I will help you through it. Also, you can ask me any queries using the Unacademy learning app. There is a provision called Chat with Educator, and I will get back to your queries in 24 hours. Okay, so moving on. So today we have theme 14 out of 15, Understanding Partition, Politics, Memories and Experiences. So in the previous session, we saw up to national movement, right? Mahatma Gandhi and his role in national movement. We saw what happened after the national movement, after India got independence, eventually leading to the Mahatma's death. Up to that, we have finished in the past session. In this session, we are going to see what happened after independence. Okay, I mean, India won independence, but that was not the end of the miseries that was happening in India. Actually, the era when India got independence was much more violent than what was happening before that. Okay, so independence from colonial rule came to India in 1947, August 15. We all know this. We celebrate this day as our Independence Day. Problem is, this day and the coming years were completely filled with violence and brutality. Okay, completely filled with violence and brutality. Why? Because when partition happened, when India was partitioned into Pakistan and India, what happened? Most of the Muslims living in India, I mean, a large portion of the Muslims living in India migrated towards Pakistan, and the large portion of non-Muslims, especially Hindus who were living in Pakistan, migrated to India's side. So this migration was not at all peaceful. This was completely filled with violence, brutality, etc., etc. So in this chapter, we are going to look at these particular aspects. Okay? Okay. Good evening, Seema. So thousands of lives were lost. Okay. Many others' lives were dramatically changed. We see that many cities changed, many villages changed its character. All in all, India also changed completely. Okay. India, being a very newborn country, saw unprecedented levels of genocidal violence and migration. We have never seen such a migration in history before. We have never seen such a level of genocide in history before. What is genocide? Genocide means mass killing. Okay, mass killing along with migration were the characteristic features of India's partition. Fine. So we are going to explore why and how it happened. Okay, why did this this mass killing and genocide happen, and how did this happen? Why is the British not preventing this, or why wasn't the Indian National Congress or the Muslim League able to prevent this? We will look into all these things. So the period we are going to look at is from about 1946 to 1950. This is the period when all these things happened, 1946 to 1950. I am not saying the entire migration stopped by 1950. No, it still continued for a long time. But the crux of the event happened around these 4-5 years. So we will start by looking into the causes of the communalism that was developed in India. We will see how the Government of India Act of 1909, Partition of Bengal, etc., contributed to the communalism in India, so and so. Fine. But in this chapter, the focus or the source of everything that we study is not the English records or the newspapers or anything. We are going to look more into the history using personal narratives, oral history. Okay, so the historians have tracked down the people who actually lived through these sad times, and the people were able to recollect a lot of things that they have suffered in this period. So most of the things that we are going to study in this chapter are based on oral histories and not government records. Fine. So we will also look into why we study oral records other than government records. Okay, we will study all these things in this chapter. So starting with a momentous marker, partition or Holocaust. Before we begin, let me just tell you, as usual, at the end of each slide, I will look into your YouTube chat. If you have any queries, you can put them there. I will look into it at the end of each slide. I will not look it in between. Okay, at the end of each slide, I will come to it and I will answer your query. So, partition or Holocaust. Several 100,000 people were killed and innumerable women were raped, abducted, etc. Okay, so basically this was a very terrible event. Partition did not happen peacefully. Although in paper, Mountbatten signed something, Indian Government of India signed something. Similarly, in Pakistan, Mountbatten signed something, and the Muslim League officials signed something. That is the theoretical aspect or the constitutional level of partition. But on ground zero, it was not that peaceful. Things were extremely pathetic. Thousands of people were killed, many women were raped, abducted, etc. Many of the people lost their families. They had to, leave everything that they owned in their previous country and come back and start a life again from the scratch. It was a very bad time all over. Okay, so basically historians think that about maybe 15 million people have been affected by this partition and by this migration, but it is not possible to arrive at an exact number because it was an era of confusion. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knows how to control this. Okay, Jinnah did not know what to do. Indian National Congress had no idea how to contain this. British were absolutely clueless. Okay, so all in all, a complete situation of anarchy. So, lot of people were rendered homeless, suddenly lost their immovable property, separated from their families, etc. Stripped of their local and religious cultures. They were forced to begin their life all over the, all the way from the scratch. So this is how it progressed. So the question is, was this simply a partition? That is number one. Was India-Pakistan splitting into two countries? Was simply a partition? A more or less orderly constitutional arrangement? An agreed upon division of territories and assets? Or should we look into it as a 16-month of civil war? Alright, this is not a mere constitutional division. Understand that. India-Pakistan partition was not something that happened as a constitutional measure or a government initiative. This happened as a result of a lot of events that happened in the past 50 years or maybe even longer than that. So the culmination of all these was on 1947 during the independence time. So it was a continuous 16 months of violence, brutality. So some historians call this as civil war as such because it had every characteristics of a civil war. Fine. So the contemporary observers and some of the scholars sometimes use the word Holocaust to deal with this event. They say that it is a Holocaust. What is the other phenomena in history where we come across this word Holocaust? There is another very famous event that happened in history where we use this term Holocaust. What is it? Which country is it associated with? Any idea? Holocaust is a term often associated with another country. What is it? It is Germany. I think you all know this, okay? It is Germany under the Nazi party. Correct. Hitler and Nazi party ruled Germany, and these people actually tortured the Jews and all. They set up concentration camps. They did ethnic cleansing, completely completely wiping out the Jews from Germany. Okay, so this is the inhuman thing that Hitler did along with his Nazi party, which often is termed as the Holocaust. So some historians actually call the migration that happened in India and the associated riots as also a Holocaust. Why? Because it was of that scale. There was mass killing, women were raped, abducted, etc., slaughtering of mass scale. Basically, there was extermination. Problem is, in India's case, it was not straight the state-driven extermination. In Germany, the ruling government, the Nazi party, actually wiped out the Jews. So it was state-sponsored extermination, and hence it is called a Holocaust. But in India's case, it was not the state because nobody knew what was going on. Most of the violence and riots happened in India were led by self-styled communal agents. It was not the International Congress or the Muslim League or the British who did all these things or who, asked the people to do all these things. Most of these happened by self-styled leaders, communal leaders, religious communal leaders. Okay, we will look into them in the following slides and you will get a better idea. So basically what we are saying in that slide is we cannot call this event as a Holocaust as such. However, it has many features that resembles what happened in Germany. Okay, because in Pakistan, non-Muslims were targeted. In India, Muslims were targeted. Clear? So not everywhere, but in most of the affected pockets. The powers of stereotypes. The power of stereotypes. So there were India haters in Pakistan. Similarly, Pakistan haters in India. Clear? So in both sides, there were people who hated each other. Some people actually mistakenly believe that the loyalties of Indian Muslims lie in Pakistan. So this is often considered as a stereotype. Okay, prejudice, being prejudiced against something. So even now, some people are accused like that. Just because that person is a Muslim doesn't mean that he is Pakistani. Okay, there are plenty of Muslims who stayed back in India who want to be in India. Okay, so there are some stereotypes which came out as a because of this communal migration and communal events, riots that happened in 1947 and the following years. So the stereotypes such as stereotypes of extraterritorial pan-Islamic loyalties comes fused with other highly objectionable ideas. Muslims are cruel, bigoted, unclean, descendants of invaders, and Hindus are kind, liberal, pure, children of the invaded, etc., etc. Okay, so basically in some pockets of India, people actually considered that Muslims are bad and Hindus are good. Basically, in simple terms. Same goes to Pakistan. What happened in Pakistan? According to R.M. Murphy, a very famous historian, he says that the opposite happened in Pakistan. In Pakistan, Muslims were considered as fair, brave, monotheists, meat eaters, etc. And Hindus were considered as dark, cowardly, polytheists and vegetarian. So these kinds of stereotypes or prejudice against a religion happened and got exaggerated as a part of our partition. So hatred manifested on both sides against each other. Alright, so the stories of partition and violence recounted by the communal groups to deepen the divide between communities. So partition happened, lots of people died, violence happened, but it did not end there. the people who survived this partition on both sides often retold the stories of partition. And when they retold the stories, they used their own version. So if an Indian is saying the story, he will obviously accuse Pakistani of everything that happened. Similarly, if a Pakistani is narrating the story, he or she will accuse Indian for everything that has happened. Okay, so mutually accusing each other. And this eventually led to the next generation. And since then, every child in both nations hear these stories while growing up. Okay, so a kind of hatred developed each other between India and Pakistan. That is a fact. Okay, relationship between Pakistan and India has been profoundly shaped by this legacy of partition. So eventually, even now, India and Pakistan are at loggerheads due to various reasons, but it has something to do with what happened in partition times. Fine. So why and how did this partition happen? The culminating point of a long history. Okay. Why did this partition happen? That is the first question that we have to ask ourselves. It did not happen all of a sudden. It was the culmination of something else. At least some historians believe that. Okay, so historians say that Muhammad Ali Jinnah's theory that Hindus and Muslims in colonial India constituted two separate nations can be projected back to medieval India. Okay, some historians believe it so. Jinnah came up with this two-nation theory. And he demanded Pakistan to be a separate nation. And the historians believe that this ideology was not something new that happened in 1940s. It actually has its roots in medieval times onwards. In medieval India, what happened? Some of the foreign people invaded India and they set up Delhi Sultanate, which was the first Muslim dynasty in India, in an all India's level. Then later came Mughals, also a foreign power, also Muslim, and they ruled India. But so historians believe that it might have something to do with these invasions, because some of the Muslims, or not all, but some were actually very bad to Hindus. For example, they enforced jizya, pilgrimage tax, etc., etc. They followed Islamic law. So some of them, not everybody, but some of them. So this may have been the root cause of eventual splitting of the Indian subcontinent. So historians started arguing this side. But some other scholars say that it is not a culmination of what happened in medieval India, but rather it is the culmination of various policies taken by the government in the first part of 20th century. That is the 1909 Government of India Act and the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms of 1990. So, after the partition of Bengal, in 1906, Muslim League was formed. So, Britishers understood that they can play the religious card in India to create division. Okay, the very famous policy of divide and rule by Curzon. Okay, you can divide Indians among each other and then you can rule. It will be easier for British. So, they started and gave separate electorates for Muslims using the Minto-Morley reforms of 1909. Which was further extended to some more religions in 1919 Government of India Act. Okay, so maybe this was how it began, which eventually led to the partition. Politicians working within the system to use sectarian slogans rather than distributing favors to their own religious groups. So basically, what is this communalism, or how, why did this partition happen? Okay, all these policies of government eventually made the people think in communal terms, at least some sections of the people. So those politicians who worked within the system started using sectarian slogans. Okay, rather than using slogans for India's independence, they started using maybe praising Hinduism a lot and criticizing Islam. Maybe praising Islam a lot and criticizing Hindu. Okay, so the people started to unite themselves not based on a common ground of India, but rather on the basis of religion and other communal elements. And slowly it begins from there. And finally, by the time of 1940s, it evolves into the idea of a new state known as Pakistan. Fine. Some other factors also contributed to this. For example, music before the mosque. So if there is an Islamic mosque somewhere situated, then maybe there is a temple nearby also. And the Hindu, during the time of festivals and all, they might put a loudspeaker or something like that, which actually causes irritation to the Muslims and vice versa. Both happens. Similarly, the cow protection movement. Cows are considered as sacred for Hindus, so they will not allow cow slaughter. Islam doesn't believe in that, so they use cows for meat also. So this differences of opinion. The works by Arya Samaj. Arya Samaj started a movement known as the Shuddhi movement, based on which previous converts to Islam can reconvert back to Hinduism. Okay, in the medieval India, during the time of Mughals and all, lot of Hindus converted to Islam. So Arya Samaj, based on Arya Samaj model, using Shuddhi movement, these converts can actually come back to Hinduism through various processes. Okay, so this was considered as a threat or a challenge to Islam. So all these eventually, led to more and more suspicion between Hindus and Muslims. Basically, they started believing that mutually they are, hindering each other's religion. Clear? Hindus considered Muslims as a threat to them. Muslims considered that Hindus are a threat to them. Fine. So Hindus were anchored by the rapid spread of Tabligh, for example. Just like Hindus started this Arya Samaj, this Shuddhi movement, Muslims had something known as the Tabligh. Tabligh means propaganda. And Tanzim means organization after 1923. So basically, after the 1920 non-cooperation movement, which saw a huge Hindu-Muslim unity, because INC managed to merge the non-cooperation movement with Khilafat movement. So at this time, we see a huge Hindu-Muslim unity. But once it was withdrawn, since then, we see there is a clear divide between Hindus and Muslims. And all these, small minor events actually contributed to the exaggeration and development of the mutual hatred. Fine. Thank you, Ria. Welcome to the class. What is communalism? Okay, I have this class every day at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Tomorrow actually is the last class from NCERT series. We have completed it, NCERT. You can follow my Telegram channel for the class notes and PDFs. Okay, t.me/msrw1. So what is communalism? That is the first question we have to understand. That many people do not know what communalism is. Okay, people basically believes that if you believe in Hinduism, it is communalism. Or if you believe in Islam, it is communalism. No. Communalism does not have anything as such to do with a particular religion. Okay, communalism basically deals with how you treat the other religion. You can be in a religion and be proud of it. It's fine. It's everyone's right to do that. But if you are in a particular religion and develop a hatred towards another religion, then you are part of communalism or communalist activities. Our identities are numerous. I have numerous features, right? They are complex. Some of us are, males. Some of us are females. Okay. Some of us are, Malayalis. Some knows Hindi. In India, there is huge diversity. Each and every person is different. Okay. So within this diversity, we have to find what is common. We have to find that common base. Clear? That is, we are all Indians. So people attach greater significance to certain closer chosen aspects. This is where things started to get out of hands. Okay, some people give overemphasis to religion. Some people give overemphasis to language. Okay, we see these kinds of issues daily in the news, right? Sometimes we see that sometimes a marriage between Hindu and Muslim is considered as a threat to a particular religion. Similarly, there is a huge issue going on with language. Hindi, when Hindi was announced as a national language or supposed to be announced as a national language, then we saw there was a huge uproar from some certain other states. Clear? So when a particular issue is given a lot of focus, it sometimes gets out of proportion. It will develop into some very huge issue that should not have happened in the first place. So communalism refers to a politics that seeks to unify one community around a religious identity in hostile opposition to another community. That is it. Okay. Unify one community around a religious identity. That is very important. So, say assuming a Hindu community, if somebody tries to bring unity within Hinduism on a religious basis and at the same time develops a hostile opposition to another community, say Islam, then we say that this is communalism. Vice versa also. Okay, so again, both aspects are important. unifying one religion against another religion. That against is very, very important. Otherwise, it's not communalism. You have to understand it very clearly. So attempts to consolidate this identity and present it in a natural way, as if people were born into the identity, as if the identities do not evolve through history over time. Clear? So this is how they started they use their propaganda. They actually make the communal elements in the society, tries to make the people believe that they are part of this particular system. Okay, the system that they created. They are actually born into this system. So anything that is not this system is actually against us or not correct. For example, say some sections of Hindus, some communal sections of Hindus, not everyone. Please understand that when I teach this session, please do not consider or think that I am against any religion or anything like that. Some of these examples are given in NCERT textbook only. Some I just tell you to have an understanding. That is all. All religions are equal. All of them should be respected and treated as brothers. Okay. So basically, say if a portion or section of a particular religion A, okay, this religion's people will start spreading the propaganda that their religion is the basis of everything. Their religion is right. Okay. And all people who belong to this community are part of this culture. And anything other than this culture is a threat to us. Okay. So this is how communalist propaganda happens in our society. Fine. Eventually they fail to understand the fact that nothing has been born overnight. Every religion, Hindu, Islam, Christianity, whatever it is, all this evolved over a very long period of time. Supreme Court in the 1995 judgment said that Hinduism is not a religion, it is the way of life in India. So what does that judgment say? That according to that judgment, what does it mean? It means it was the lifestyle of Indian people, which means it developed over a very long period of time. It did not happen all of a sudden. But unfortunately, some other misinterpretations is causing various issues in India. Fine. So communalism suppresses distinctions within the community and emphasizes the essential unity of the community against other communities. They try to bring unity within a particular community. So this is seen as a positive element. Within, say, a particular religion A, okay, I'm not going to say the name of any religion. I will just say X or Y. That will be easier. So in a particular religion A, there may be many subcastes or something like that. Say X, Y, Z, U. Okay. So these people will try to achieve unity among all these subcastes and will bring them into a common base, that is A, and then spread hatred towards another religion, which is B. This is how communalist propagandas eventually start to succeed. Fine. So it has an inherent nature of being hatred, spreading hatred and becoming violent. Alright. So in the context of multi-religious countries such as India, the phrase religious nationalism can come to acquire the similar meaning. Also possible. Okay, in multi-religious nations. For example, best example, India. Sometimes we also use the term religious nationalism. What is this religious nationalism? Religious nationalism basically means that if a lot of people, okay, belong to a particular religion, say X, okay, X is the name of the religion, and a huge majority of people belong to X, and they started, saying that since we are the majority, our ideas or our virtues or our beliefs is what makes this nation. Clear? Because they are the majority, a particular religious belief is being upheld as a national belief. Understood? This is known as religious nationalism. So it is very often easy for this religious nationalism to be in equality or to be equal to communalism. These two can be very much similar in many times. Fine? Communalism and religious nationalism. Yes, Seema Shetty requisites there 5:30 p.m. Medieval India. Alright, Unacademy Learning App, 5:30 p.m. Medieval India. I will share the quiz code towards the end of this chapter. So the provincial elections of 1937 and the Congress ministries. Now I think you understood what communalism means. We started in the previous slide, we were looking at how this partition happened. We were looking at how the policies of British contributed to this. We saw how various local events such as Music Before the Mosque, Arya Samaj, Shuddhi movement, etc., contributed to the development of this difference between Hindus and Muslims. Now let's see what happened in the political level in 1937. 1937 and the Congress ministries. So, according to the Government of India Act of 1935, elections were conducted all over India in 1937. Okay, in this general elections, Congress did very well. International Congress captured about 8 out of 11 seats. Okay, I mean 7 out of 11 they had. They were able to form government. In one of them also they had a really good majority. Fine, that was the level of International Congress victory in 1937. But in as far as Muslim League was concerned, they were not able to do well. Okay, Muslim League was the main considering themselves as the only organization representing Muslims. At least they boasted like that. Problem was, in the 1937 elections, they performed extremely badly. They couldn't even win a single seat in Northwestern Frontier Province, which is a Muslim majority province. Okay, they could only capture 2 seats out of 84 reserved constituencies in Punjab and 3 in Sindh. Sindh and Punjab also has a huge majority of Muslims. But even there, Muslim League completely failed. Other parties and International Congress were able to perform extremely well. Okay, so this was considered as a very alarming situation by the leaders of ML, Muslim League. In United Province, okay, United Province means modern day Uttar Pradesh region. Okay, so in United Province, Muslim League wanted to form a joint government with INC. Okay, Muslim League wanted to have a coalition government together with International Congress. But International Congress rejected this, saying that they have the majority anyway, then why should we go for coalition? It was true, International Congress had the majority. They did not want the help of Muslim League to form a government. So they rejected this offer. So this rejection was considered by the League as a very alarming situation. So League basically thought that if India become independent with International Congress as the major party, then Muslim League and the Muslims will have to suffer. At least League believed that. This is not true actually, but Muslim League and Muhammad Ali Jinnah started believing in this concept. Fine. So the League assumed that only a Muslim party could represent Muslim interests and that Congress was essentially a Hindu party. Okay, so League started declaring Congress as a Hindu party and considering themselves as the only voice of Muslims. Again, this is wrong. Why? Because International Congress had many Muslim leaders. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, best example. Plenty of Muslim leaders were there in International Congress, willingly, not by force or anything. But unfortunately, the League was not able to accept their claim. So Congress ministries contributed to a widening rift. Okay, it was not just the Muslim League. International Congress also did many things which did not help the situation. For example, in United Province, they rejected the proposal of coalition government, where they could have found some kind of understanding or negotiation. Similarly, the secular and radical rhetoric of Congress merely alarmed the conservative Muslims. International Congress was against the concept of landlordism. Okay, landlordism means there is a particular landlord and tenants are working under him. Okay, tenants were treated extremely badly, as slaves, at least in some levels. Okay, so INC was basically against the system of landlordism. But the conservative Muslims were actually for landlords. Clear? So when the Congress governments were formed in these provinces, they tried to abolish landlords, which actually threatened many of the conservative Muslims. So some of the actions of International Congress after they formed the government also did not help the situation. Alright. So while the leading Congress leaders in 1930s insisted more than ever before on the need for secularism, the ideas were by no means universally shared. Also true. Within Congress itself, there were fact differences, various ideologies, thoughts, etc. Although the major leaders, topmost leaders in Congress, wanted a secular kind of system in India, there were people within the Congress who wanted some other kind of government as well. Okay, so Congress was not able to, put their ideologies into the ground level. Okay, the top leaders might be having a positive outlook of this, but they were not able to make the lower sections of the society. They were not able to make the people understand the importance of secularism and what secularism stood for. So, in example, Maulana Azad in 1937, okay, he is a very prominent leader of Indian National Congress. So, he actually made this proclamation announcement that members of Congress were not allowed to join League. Okay, if you are a member of Indian National Congress, you should not join Muslim League. Problem was, some of the congressmen were active in Hindu Mahasabha. So Muslim League is a Muslim organization, a political party. Hindu Mahasabha is actually a Hindu organization. So when Maulana Azad said that people are not allowed to join Muslim League, he should also have said people are not allowed to join in Hindu organizations. But that did not happen. Clear? So there was differences among the Congress people also. Differences in ideas and differences in communication. Fine. So at least in central provinces, this kind of thing happened. There were many Congress people who were also a part of Hindu Mahasabha. Later, in December 1938, about 1 year later, Congress Working Committee declared that Congress members should not join Mahasabha also. By then it was too late. Okay, Congress, it was already 1 year late when Congress announced this. So people began to have all these ideas in their mind. Congress is not allowing people to join Muslim League, but allowing Congress to join Hindu Mahasabha. So Congress is pro-Hindus. Congress is a Hindu party. These kinds of ideas started emerging in the common man's mind because of the lack of foresight by Congress leaders. It has to be accepted, at least some of them. Hindu Mahasabha and Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh (RSS) started to gain strength around this time. Okay, especially the RSS had their base in Nagpur to the United Provinces, the Punjab and other parts of the country by 1930s. By 1940s, RSS had over 1 lakh trained and highly disciplined cadres pledged to the ideology of Hindu nationalism, convinced that India was a land of Hindus. So both RSS and Hindu Mahasabha are pro-Hindu organizations. Everybody knows that. So this Hindu nationalism and Congress allowing its members to join these kinds of groups were considered as some kind of threats by the Muslim counterparts. Fine. So all these eventually led to widening rift between Hindus and Muslims and to everything that happened during the time of partition. So the Pakistan resolution. So you have to understand that even at this time, we do not have a Pakistan as such. Okay, we have this idea or theory of having a Muslim-dominated province or a province entirely for Muslims. But the two-nation theory is yet to come. Division of India is not in the picture even in 1939-1940 period. But on March 23, 1940, League moved a resolution demanding a measure of autonomy for the Muslim majority areas in the subcontinent. This is how it begins. Okay, so those areas which have Muslim majority should have a certain level of autonomy. This is what League demanded. That is Sindh, Northwestern Frontier Province, Punjab, then Eastern Bengal region, etc. etc. Okay, so Sikandar Hayat Khan, the Punjab Premier and the leader of the Unionist Party, he is the person who drafted this resolution demanding this autonomy for Muslim majority areas. But in his resolution, he clearly says that he is opposed to the idea of a second nation. Look at this. I am quoting him. Muslim Raj here and Hindu Raj elsewhere. If Pakistan means unalloyed Muslim Raj in the Punjab, then I will have nothing to do with it. So even now, the people who actually made this resolution were not attracted to the idea of having a second nation. They did not want to divide India. Even in 1940s. They wanted some kind of autonomy for Muslim-dominated regions within the country of India. Okay, this is how at least it began. Later on, we will see that communalism will come into this, and it eventually goes into the two-nation theory. We will just see it. So initially, the plea was for a loose confederation with considerable autonomy for the confederating units. Entire India as a single confederation but significant autonomy. So the central government is comparatively weaker. It will have certain subjects with it, but most of the important subjects are given to provinces. Okay, maybe say for example, foreign affairs or say communication, these kinds of subjects will be given to the central government. Rest, everything else and the residual power might have been for the provinces. So this was the initial plan. So this is one storyline. Second one is regarding Muhammad Iqbal. Who is Muhammad Iqbal? I think every one of you know who Muhammad Iqbal is. Muhammad Iqbal is the person who wrote the very famous song Sare Jahan Se Acha. Okay, Sare Jahan Se Acha, Hindu Sita Hamar Hamar. So that song is written by Muhammad Iqbal. That is how we know him. So he is one of the persons who first came out with the need for a Northwest Indian Muslim state. One of the first to bring out this idea, a Northwest Indian Muslim state, which eventually became Pakistan. Okay, but here also you have to understand that Iqbal was not visualizing the emergence of a new country. He merely wanted a reorganization of this province where Muslims were in majority into some kind of autonomous unit within the country of India. Even now, when Muhammad Iqbal says this is also 1940. Even now, when this happened, idea was to have an autonomous state within the larger country. Okay, so the suddenness of partition. No one knew. Yeah, okay, no questions. So I'm continuing. No one knew what the creation of Pakistan meant. Okay, and how it might shape the lives of people. So what does this Pakistan mean? People are always saying about India and Pakistan is going to be divided into two countries. Pakistan will be a Muslim nation, India will be another nation, etc., etc. But nobody actually knew what this meant. Okay, people just continued their ordinary life until this day happened in reality. Okay, so many who migrated from their homelands in 1947 thought that they would actually return back when the peace came back in these nations. Okay, many people who went to Pakistan thought that after some time we will be able to come back to India when all this commotion comes down. Similarly, people who came to India from Pakistan thought that they will be able to go back after some time. They actually, common people had no idea about the depth of communalism that was in the Indian society. Okay, they thought that it is something instantaneous that happened, unfortunately. But once the peace started coming in, everything will go back to normal. But this was not the case. Alright. So initially, even the Muslim leaders did not seriously raise the demand for Pakistan as a sovereign state. But Muslim League kept Pakistan basically as a bargaining chip. Okay, whenever British tried to allow concessions for the Congress or say additional favors for Congress, Muslim League basically used the Pakistan card as a bargaining chip. Okay, they threatened that they will secede from India and form a new state, etc., etc. So this was basically a threat or a bargaining chip that the Muslim League held initially. But later on, this develops as a real threat, that is the country of Pakistan. So after the end of World War II, that is in while World War II was going on, India witnessed a mass movement that we studied in our previous class. In 1942, Quit India movement happened. So during the time of Quit India movement, most of the Indian National Congress leaders were arrested, including Mahatma Gandhi. I think I explained this yesterday. Most of the Indian National Congress leaders, all of them, not just most, all of the major Indian National Congress leaders were arrested and kept in jail by British. So basically, Quit India movement was led by new emerging leaders. Okay, but Muslim League leaders, the experienced and well-versed Muslim League leaders were still outside the jail. So when Congress leaders spent their time in the jail, Muslim League was able to use this vacuum to turn the people in their favor. They were able to do a lot of political work in their favor during the time of Quit India movement. Okay, so we will see that very soon. When elections happen again, you remember the 1937 elections, right? Muslim League utterly failed in that election. But we will see that after the elections that happen, after the Second World War, Muslim League will do extremely well. Okay, and this will give the confidence for the Muslim League to boast that they are the sole representatives of Indian Muslims. If they had failed that elections miserably, just like they had in 1937, then Muslim League will not even dare to say about the idea of two nations, because people are not with them. But since they won this election, Muslim League leaders understood that Indian Muslims, a large portion of Indian Muslims are actually on their side. Okay, and they were able to strongly demand that second nation to happen. Fine. So the post-war development. So what happens after the end of Second World War? So in 1945, okay, after the end of Second World War, British agreed to create an entirely Indian Central Executive Council. Okay, entirely Indian. Britishers understood that we are not going to rule India any longer. Okay, it's almost time for us. So we have to hand over the government to Indians and get out of here. Fine. So they decided that they will create an entirely Indian Central Executive Council except for Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief of Army. Viceroy and the Commander-in-Chief will be British, otherwise it will be Indians. This was considered as a preliminary step for independence. Okay, but the discussions on this topic actually broke down. Why? Because Muhammad Ali Jinnah demanded that the League has an absolute right to choose all the Muslim members of Executive Council, and the League also had some kind of communal veto. Again, the same ideology. Muslim League claiming themselves that they are the sole representatives of Indian Muslims. So Jinnah said that every Muslim person in this council, in this Executive Council, will be elected or nominated by Muslim League only. Indian National Congress is not allowed, or in any other party is not allowed to place a Muslim member in Executive Council. This is number one demand. Second demand is that any decision that is taken in this council, if it affects a religion, then it should have 2/3 majority to pass that resolution. Which means what? Which means that resolution will not pass without the concurrence of Muslim League. Muslim League had enough seats to, Congress did not have enough seats to claim that 2/3 majority. So Muslim League's vote will also be required for the purpose. Okay, so basically Muhammad Ali Jinnah came up with some sort of veto. These two demands actually caused the entire discussions to break down. So large sections of the nationalist Muslims supported the Congress. Okay, many Muslims were supporting Congress. This is not just League. And in Western Punjab, members of the Unionist Party were largely Muslims. Okay, so there were sections who were supporting both these parties. So the British had no intention of annoying the Unionist parties. Okay, Unionist parties were usually, supporting Britain consistently. Okay, even if you look at history, you will see that most of the time, Unionist party were always supporting Britain in everything that has happened. So Britishers did not want to make an enemy on the Unionist party. Okay, so Britishers also were in favor of, not in favor of Jinnah's demands of having this veto and having this, sole representatives of Muslim thing. Okay, so basically, Jinnah thought that both British and Indian National Congress are now plotting against the Muslim League. Okay, eventually, Jinnah started thinking like that. So, in the provincial elections that happened in 1946, Congress swept the general constituencies. Almost all the general constituencies were swept by Indian National Congress, huge majority. Okay, but in all those constituencies which had, which were reserved for Muslim candidates, League won. Okay, League won all the 30 reserved constituencies in the center with 86.6% of the Muslim vote and 442 out of 509 seats in the provinces. Look at that. What does this mean? This means that those Muslim candidates who were fielded by Indian National Congress and other parties lost. Okay, only those Muslim candidates who were fielded by Muslim League eventually emerged as winners. Which means what? Which also means Jinnah can effectively claim that they are now the sole representatives of Indian Muslims. Okay, the election results are in their favor. Look at the percentage. 86.6% of Muslims in India had voted for Muslim League. Fine. So League's demand now became very much strong. This is when the League will actually start putting the very concrete emphasis on having a Pakistan. Okay, now they are not going to back down. They want Pakistan without question. Problem is, you have to understand, as a history student, we have to understand that the franchisee of these elections were extremely limited. Not many actually voted. Okay, the franchisee was restricted to a very few amount of people, maybe 10% of total population, or maybe even less than that. Okay, so this does not actually, what does this mean? This does not actually reflect what the Indian society was at that time. Although this 86.6% of Muslim votes went to Muslim League, doesn't mean 86.6% of entire Muslims were sided with Muslim League. 86.6% of the Muslim voters. Okay, and these voters were only like less than 10% of total population. The franchisee was extremely low. Clear? So these were the drawbacks of that election that happened at that particular time. But unfortunately, it was how political processes that happened around 1945-1946 period. Fine. Now let's see a possible alternative to partition. So partition is on the cards now. So how can we avoid the partition? Both International Congress and Britain did not want partition. British wanted India to be a single state so that India will be a very strong state within the Commonwealth. Indian National Congress also did not want partition because they wanted to set up a secular state. Muslim League wanted partition. So how can we avoid a partition? That was the thought of INC and British. Hello Jenny, welcome. Okay Vivek. So in March 1946, something happened. Okay, March 1946. British cabinet sent three members as a part of a very famous mission known as Cabinet Mission. These three members are Pethick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps and A.B. Alexander. I think you know this already. I'm not going to repeat it. Okay, I'm not going to write it down. Pethick Lawrence, A.B. Alexander and Stafford Cripps. They were sent into India in 1946 by the British Parliament, British Cabinet. What were their aim? Their aim or their objective was to examine the League's demands. Okay, they were asked to examine Muslim League's demand of this separate country. At the same time, they were also supposed to suggest a suitable political framework for India. Okay, once India becomes independent, how should Indian polity be? Or how should India's political framework should be architectured? These were the objectives of Cabinet Mission. So Cabinet Mission actually recommended a loose three-tier confederation. Cabinet Mission said that India is going to be a united country. There is no partition. Okay, but India will have a weak center, okay, of government controlling foreign affairs, defense and communications. Defense, foreign affairs and communications. These three subjects will lie with center. Everything else will go for provinces. Okay, and India will be divided into three sections. Divided in the sense, within India, there will be three provinces. Number one, Section A, having the Hindu majority provinces. Section B and C, having Muslim majority provinces of Northwest and Northeast. Section B is basically today's Pakistan and Section C is basically today's Bangladesh. Okay, this is how Cabinet Mission envisioned India. India will not be divided. It will be a single country only, but there will be three sections within the country. Section A, Hindus. Section B, Pakistan, the Northwestern region. Section C, Northeastern region, the Bangladesh region. This is how Cabinet Mission envisioned it. So initially, all parties accepted it. Okay, Congress was okay with it. Muslim League was okay with it. Problem was that nobody really understood what Cabinet Mission meant. Okay, they all interpreted Cabinet Mission's recommendations in their own way. Okay, so let's see how they interpreted this. League wanted the grouping to be compulsory, with Section B and C developing into a strong entity with the right to secede from the Union in the future. Okay, what does this mean? This means that Muslim League thought that okay, fine, now the center is we have a country with a weak center and strong provinces. So eventually these provinces will be able to develop more and become more and more strong, and in the future we will be able to secede from India into a separate nation. This was League's understanding of Cabinet Mission. Okay, Indian National Congress thought the other way. Indian National Congress thought that these provinces will in the future have a right to join the group. the provinces will be given the right to join a particular group. Okay, India has numerous provinces at that time. League thought that cabinet mission will allow these provinces. International Congress thought that cabinet mission will allow these provinces to voluntarily join any section as they want, rather than forcing anybody to any particular section. This will be a voluntary activity. This is what Congress thought. So both Congress and League interpreted cabinet mission recommendations in different ways. Problem was that cabinet mission did not agree to any of these things. This was not their version actually. Okay, so when League and Congress understood what really cabinet mission meant, both of them opposed the cabinet mission proposals. Okay, so cabinet mission also failed. Clear? So they went back to England without any kind of success. But now, when cabinet mission failed, partition of India became almost inevitable. Okay, now partition is almost unavoidable. It will happen. The only question is when. Okay, so partition became more or less inevitable, with most of the Congress leaders agreeing to it, seeing that seeing it as a tragic but unavoidable thing. Most of the International Congress leaders who initially were opposing partition also had to accept that partition is an unavoidable, tragical future. Fine. So except Gandhiji, almost everybody else. Gandhiji and Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Okay, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, also known as the Frontier Gandhi. Okay, because of his activities in Northwestern Frontier Province. So apart from these two leaders of INC, almost every other major leader accepted that Pakistan is inevitable and it will happen in the future. Okay. So this is how the sections were divided according to the cabinet mission. The Hindu majority areas is the section 1, Muslim majority area here section B, and this is the section C. Okay, and the blue areas were basically the princely states. Clear? The agenda is shown here. You can read it. Fine. Moving on towards partition. So now partition is inevitable. The only question is when it will happen. So August 16, 1946 was a very tragic day in Indian history. Why? Because this day was decided by Muslim League to be celebrated as Direct Action Day. Direct Action Day. Okay, what is this direct action? Muslim League understood that if British leaves India in this position, then Congress will definitely be the majority party and they will rule India, and this is going to be bad for Muslim League and Muslims. At least this was Muslim League's version of the story. Okay, so Muslim League leaders announced a Direct Action Day on August 16, 1946. According to this, the Muslim people were supposed to start rioting all over the country and start causing troubles. So most of the parts of North India witnessed extreme violence in this day. Many people died, huge bloodsheds. Okay, lots and lots of lives were lost, especially in Calcutta, lasting several days. Okay, several thousand people died. Very bad day for India. So when these things happened, Congress leaders became even more alarmed, because you cannot we cannot continue this anymore. Innocent people are dying out, and we cannot hold on to the idea of India being a single country. Now partition has to happen. Okay, Muslim League's demand has to be considered, otherwise even more people will die. Okay, so by March 1947, violence spread to many parts of northern India. In March 1947, Congress High Command voted for dividing Punjab into two halves, one with Muslim majority and other with Hindu and Sikh majority, and it asked for application of same principle in Bengal. So now Congress itself took the step to do this partition to avoid further bloodsheds. So they said that we have to divide Punjab and Sindh regions, because Eastern Punjab and Eastern Sindh region were Hindu and Sikh populations. Okay, Western Punjab and Western Sindh were Muslim population. So the Western sectors will be given to Pakistan. Same goes for Bengal. Eastern Bengal was basically Muslim population. Western Bengal was Hindu population. So India will take the Western Bengal, which is today's West Bengal, and Pakistan can have the Eastern Bengal. which eventually became Bangladesh. Fine. So this was the idea which was put forward by Indian National Congress in March 1947. Many Sikh leaders and congressmen in Punjab were convinced that partition was a necessary evil. Otherwise, they would be swarmed by Muslim majority and Muslim leaders would dictate the terms. So this has to be considered also. If they do not take these proactive steps, then what will happen? Most probably, Punjab, Sindh and Bengal will be considered as a part of Muslim nation. Okay, after the partition, Punjab, Sindh and Bengal will be taken by Muslims. Why? Because majority population was Muslims. If you take the state as all together, okay, if we take say if suppose this is Punjab, this is Sindh and this is Bengal, for example, okay, then we have this many people as Hindus and Sikhs. Here also this many as Hindus and Sikhs. Here also this many as Hindus and Sikhs. So the larger portion is Muslims. Clear? So obviously, if we allow partition as such, these states will go to Muslim country. So in order to make sure that the people there did not have to suffer, Congress proactively took this step to divide these constituencies based on population, based on religion. Fine. So that is what this statement is saying. So in Bengal too, a section of the Bhadralok Bengali Hindus who wanted political power to remain with them began to fear the permanent tutelage of Muslims. Same. Hindu sections and non-Muslim sections within these territories, within these provinces, started to fear that they might end up in a Muslim country and they will have to suffer. Okay, so they also started shouting for partition in where their area will be a part of India. Clear? Hi Ajay. Yeah, killing stress. Yeah, all my sections are English only. Okay, I mean I am not familiar with Hindi. That is why I do my sections in English, and all my sections are in English. The withdrawal of law and order. Okay, so I told you, direct action day happened. Lots of violence. Many people died. Innocent people. Why? What was the government doing at this time? We had a provincial government by Indian National Congress. We had some leaders from Muslim League. Britishers were still in India. What were these people doing? Were they sleeping? Okay, they could have avoided it, right? I mean, Britishers always used to bring in army whenever something happens. But at this time, we do not see any British interference. So what happened to them? Alright. So bloodbath continued for about 1 year since March 1947. Main reason is that most of the governance institutions collapsed. Okay, most of the governance institutions collapsed. I will tell you how. Penderal Moon, okay, an administrator serving in Bahawalpur, he noted that police did not fire even a single shot when the arson and killings were taking place in Amritsar in 1947. So Amritsar was one of the hard-hit states, hard-hit areas. Okay, but British police or the Indian police, nobody even fired a single shot while all these things happened right in front of their eyes. Okay, that is number one. British officials did not know how to handle the situation. Okay, I mean they were unwilling to take decisions. Whenever a panic-stricken people came to British and asked their help to stop this violence, Britishers directed these people to go and ask help of Mahatma Gandhi or Nehru or Jinnah or something like that. Because Britishers did not want to be involved in any of these things. Basically, they did not know what to do at this situation. So they referred these people to Indian leaders, Gandhiji, Nehru, Jinnah, etc. etc. Okay, so top leaders of Indian parties, barring Mahatma Gandhi, were involved in negotiations regarding independence, while many Indian civil servants in the affected provinces feared about their own life and property. Britishers were busy preparing to quit India. So this was what was happening. Barring Mahatma Gandhi, all the Indian National Congress leaders, major leaders, they were all keen on, making plans on how to split India, all these constitutional level discussions, etc. etc. Same goes for Muslim League. They were not concerned at all about anything else. They wanted to split, so they were also looking into the post-partition maps and all. Britishers, they were fed up with India. They just want to live now. So they were planning to, they were thinking about how can we live and, what should be done while we leave India forever. Okay, so nobody was caring about what was going on in India. That is what I'm basically trying to say, apart from Mahatma Gandhi. So problems were compounded when Indian soldiers and policemen came to act as Hindus, Muslims or Sikhs. This is the final issue. Have you seen this very famous English movie known as Viceroy's House? I think it is Viceroy's House or something like that. Okay, in that we can clearly see during the last years or last months of British rule in India, the Indian soldiers itself started acting as Muslim soldiers and Hindu soldiers or Sikh soldiers rather than Indian soldiers. Even Britishers lost control of their own soldiers. Okay, I mean, most of the Englishmen, most of the European soldiers were already back in England. Only a small group were left in India. With them, you cannot control India at all. Okay, so Britishers had to rely on the Indian soldiers to make sure the law and order situation was prevailing. But this was not possible because, to be honest, there was no Indian soldier. There was many Muslim soldier. There was many Hindu soldier, and there were many Sikh soldiers. Okay, so this kind of attitude, even among the army ranks, caused huge issues during the last months of India's colonial rule. Understand that this is also one of the reasons. I mean, our constitution makers actually studied from all these things. And that is why right now, Indian military is not allowed to be, allowed to take part in political activities. I mean, lots of rights are, banned for them, right? Army people are not allowed to, come out in public in social media against the government, or say come out in, support a political party, etc., etc. Many civil rights are restricted for soldiers. Why? Because to prevent all these things from happening in the future. Okay, if at some point of time, these kinds of communal violence or political differences enter the Indian army, what will happen? Everything will go down. Nah? I mean, there is nobody else to maintain law and order. That is why army has a separate set of fundamental rights. I mean, not all fundamental rights are given to army people. Okay, now the one-man army. So the one-man army. I told you what was Congress doing, what was Muslim League doing, and what was Britain doing. Now let's see what was Mahatma Gandhi doing. Apparently, he is the only person who cared about people at this time. Okay, literally speaking, he is the only person who actually cared about people around this time. So the 77 years old Mahatma Gandhi decided to stake all in a bid to vindicate his lifelong principle of non-violence and his conviction that people's heart could be changed. So he believed that despite all this violence happening, still it is possible to make Hindus and Muslims as brothers. Okay, it is possible to bring that unity between Hindus, and he believed that, at least. So even in 1947, in last class I told you, in 1947, when India and Pakistan were celebrating independence, Mahatma Gandhi was actually sad. He was in Calcutta at that time, trying to console all people who were affected by these riots. He achieved the dream of getting independence for India, but he failed in achieving the dream of a united India. Okay, so after this inevitable partition happened, Gandhiji, tried to make the most out of it. So he thought that anyway partition happened. Now let's try to make sure that we are friends. Okay, let's try to make sure that Hindus and Muslims can live peacefully in both these nations. So that was the next agenda for Gandhiji. Unfortunately, that also did not came out the way he wanted. So he was in Noakhali in eastern Bengal, marching through the villages and in Bihar, etc., etc., consoling the people who were affected by all these riots and all. You can see a huge group of people gathered to welcome Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi had that kind of influence. A huge group of people shown here waiting to welcome Mahatma Gandhi in the railway station. Okay, so on October 1946, Muslims in East Bengal targeted Hindus. Okay, Muslims in East Bengal started to persecute Hindus, targeted Hindus. So Gandhiji visited this area. He toured all this area in barefoot. He persuaded the local Muslims to guarantee the safety to Hindus. Okay, I mean, Muslim leaders can say whatever they want. I mean, they don't care about the real people at all. So Gandhiji actually went to the local people in the ground zero, and he asked the people to treat the Hindus well. Similarly, in Delhi, another area where some Muslims were persecuted, here he asked the other part, Hindus, to be lenient towards Muslims. So he was trying to bring this religious unity when it was not happening. Okay. So we have a reference from Delhi which states that a Delhi Muslim, Shahid Ahmad Delhi, okay, compelled to flee to a dirty, overcrowded camp in Purana Killa, likened Gandhiji's arrival in Delhi on 9 September 1947 to the arrival of the rains after a particularly long and harsh summer. Delhi recalled in his memoir how Muslims said to one another, Delhi will now be saved. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi was able to bring some sort of, calm, some sort of consolation for all these riot affected people. And this was the faith that the common man had in Mahatma Gandhi even at this time. Okay, you can read this yourself. This is given in your NCERT textbook. I just copy pasted it as such without any edits. Okay, so these kinds of faith was shown on Mahatma Gandhi by the common man. On 28th November 1947, on Guru Nanak's birthday, Gandhiji addressed Gurudwara Sisganj. Okay, Gandhiji was addressing Gurudwara Sisganj on 28th November 1947. Apparently, Gandhiji noticed that there was not even a single Muslim in the Chandni Chowk Road at all. Not even a single Muslim. So Gandhiji remarked that this is a shame for India. I mean, India is a land for everybody. India is the motherland for all religions, not just Hindus or Sikhs or anybody. Muslims, Christians, everybody are welcome in India. And it's a shame that not even a single Muslim is in the Chandni Chowk Road of Delhi. Okay, so he began a fasting. Mahatma Gandhi, when he began a fast to bring about a change of heart, amazingly, many Hindus and Sikh migrants also fasted with him. Still, there were a lot of people in India who supported his ideals, and many joined him in this fast against this religious violence. Okay, and the effect of this fast was electric, wrote Maulana Azad. People began realizing the folly of violence. Okay, they had unleashed on the city and city's Muslims, but it was only Gandhiji's martyrdom that finally ended the macabre drama of violence. This is an unfortunate truth. Although Gandhiji's activities had huge impacts on the Indian society, communal violence continued all along. It was only after Gandhiji's death, stopped this communal violence. Okay, because it was such a shock for everyone, not just any particular section of the society. It was a shock for all of them, Hindus, Muslims, etc., etc. And this event actually stopped the communal violence to a great extent. January 31st, 1948. Okay, so gendering the partition. Now we have studied the overall assessment of partition. We have looked into partition, through the constitutional eyes, through the eyes of common man, through the eyes of national leaders, etc., etc. Now let's see partition from the eyes of women. How was partition for women? Okay, so considering all the sections of Indian society, partition was the worst for Indian women. By Indian women, I mean Indian subcontinent. Okay, Muslims, Pakistan, currently Pakistan, Bangladesh also included. Okay, so it was a very harrowing experience for them. Lots and lots of women were raped, abducted, sold, and often many times over, and forced to settle down in a new life with strangers in unknown circumstances. Already, women's level in the society was very low. Women did take part actively in national movement and all, but still, women were treated as second-grade citizens to husbands or etc., etc. At least in reality, it was like that. Even now, we still are shouting slogans for women equality, right? We want women empowerment. Even now, we see that in certain parts of India, at least certain sections of society, women are treated as objects rather than equal partners. Okay, so this was the same. The situation was even more worse back in 1950s. So some began to develop new familial bonds in their changed circumstances. So some women were able to, adapt to the new situations because they did not have a choice. So they chose to adapt anyway. But some did not manage to do that. So, they had to face even more severe circumstances. Indian and Pakistani governments were insensitive to the complexities of human relationships. Again, correct. For the political leaders, for the governments, India and Pakistan governments, they never really cared about what was, the ground reality. They never cared about women at all. Okay, they all that they cared about is who is Pakistani and who is Indian. Anybody who is Indian stays here, who is Pakistani goes there. That's all. That's all that they cared about. So, believing the women to be on the wrong side of the border, they now tore them away from their new relatives and sent them back to their earlier locations. So, even after partition, even after say a couple of years after partition, when certain government officials found that some women, actually belong to Pakistan region and they are here only because of some other distant relatives or something, they forcefully took these women back to their country. Both governments. Those people who were considered as Indians in Pakistan were deported to India, and those who were considered as Pakistanis in India were deported to Pakistan by both Indian and Pakistani governments. Okay, and the women's opinion or choice was not taken into account. That is the main point here. Government decided, government implemented. They did not care about what the woman actually wanted. Does she want to stay here? Nobody asked. Okay, so they did not consult the concerned woman at all, undermine their right to take decisions regarding their own lives. So women were not given that right to take decisions on their own lives. Even now, that is the same issue that is being happening now. That is the main motto of all this gender equality thing. Women should have the rights to take decisions on their own lives. As civil service officers, you people, future civil service officers, you people also should have to understand this. Okay, respect women and respect their right to take decisions for their own life, because they are also equals. Okay, so that kind of mindset is very important for all of us. That is important. When writing paper 4, GS paper 4, ethics paper, you can look into all these aspects. Preserving the honor. So usually I do not put these big passages in my slides, but today I have taken a particular portion from NCERT textbook and copy pasted it as such, and I did not edit it. Okay, because I do not want it to be misconstrued as something else. Okay, sometimes if I do not say omits any of these words in this passage, it could get misinterpreted as something else. The real meaning may not convey. Okay, so instead of that is why I kept the entire passage as such. Preserving honor. Notion of honor drew upon a conception of masculinity defined by ownership and zameen. Basically, the thing is, during the partition, lots of people were migrating to both sides. Everybody wanted their honor. Everybody wanted to preserve their honor. We have heard about Rajput women, right? When the Rajputs lost a war, sometimes the Rajput women used to perform Johar. Like jumping into the fire. Okay, Johar. So this was supposed to be to preserve their honor. So similarly, in here also, many people considered that whatever happens, they have to preserve their honor. So basically, the notion of honor around in the 1940s and 1950s meant that it is about the ownership of Zaman and Zameen. Zan and Zameen. Zan means woman, Zameen means land. So for a man, his honor is intact as long as he can protect his women and his land. Okay, Zan and Zameen. As long as he can preserve that, he has his honor. That is the notion. Fine. So, often enough, women internalize the same values. So, women also thought that, they also believed this particular notion of honor. At times, therefore, when the men feared that their women, that is wives, daughters, sisters, etc., would be violated by the enemy, they killed women themselves. So they have to protect them, right? So if a situation occurs when the enemy will, violate their women, then in order to avoid this, the men actually chose to kill them. Understood? That why? Because even at this period, women and land are considered as properties of men, as owned by men. Clear? It is not like a separate individual having equal rights and all, but instead wife is considered as a property of husband. Okay, same goes for land. Just like land, wife is also considered as a property. This is the issue here. So now let me read this long passage, try to follow up. After that I will explain. Okay, so this is a passage, Butalia. Urvashi Butalia is actually a journalist who wrote into all these things that happened during the time of partition in her very famous book, The Other Side of Silence. Okay, which will look into the Toa Khalsa district of Toa Khalsa region of Rawalpindi district. Rawalpindi is right now in Pakistan. So Urvashi Butalia's book, The Other Side of Silence, gives a vivid description about how partition was for women. Okay, now let's see. During partition, in the Sikh village, 90 women are said to have voluntarily jumped into a well rather than fall into the enemy hands. The migrant refugees from this village still commemorate the event at the Gurudwara in Delhi, referring to the deaths as martyrdom and not suicide. First important point. Okay, so many women who actually believed this concept of honor, they jumped into wells to protect themselves from these enemies, and this event is actually commemorated every year by people right now, and this event is considered as martyrdom rather than suicide. This is point number one. You have to think about it. They believed that men at that time had to courageously accept the decision of women, and in some cases even persuade the woman to kill themselves. Okay, men had to accept the decision of the woman to kill herself and even sometimes persuade the woman to take her own life. Number 2. 3. On 13th March every year, when their martyrdom is celebrated, the incident is recounted to an audience of men, women and children. Women are exhorted to remember the sacrifice and bravery of their sisters to cast themselves in the same mold. Okay, now this example that happened in history is now being retold again and again, and more people are asked to keep this as an inspiration and mold their character according to these great women. That is number 3. Okay, moving on. For the community of survivors, the remembrance rituals helps keep their memory alive. What such rituals do not seek to remember, however, are the stories of those who did not wish to die. Most important point here. Okay, I will read it again. What such rituals do not seek to remember, however, are the stories of all those who did not wish to die and had to end their lives against their will. We celebrate them as, heroes or, took their own lives to protect their honors. We take inspiration from them. All are good, but it is a fact that not everybody wanted to do it. Many of them were actually forced by men to take their own lives. There were women who did not want to do that. There were women who may be ready to fight or maybe want to live on. But they were forced to take their lives by their husbands or the male members of the family or some other influential people. Okay, these women are often forgotten. We do not see the history clearly. Okay, we see history in the way we want to see it, but that is not often what history is. We have to see it academically also. Okay, the reality also. So what is if we look at this last statement, what does that mean? That means that is basically putting mud on some of the men's face. Now, there were men or some people who actually forced the women to take their own lives. Domination of men over women. Okay, a patriarchal nature of Indian society. So it is a negative area. So people are not looking at this negative area, but instead they are looking at the positives and going to take inspiration from that. Clear? So this is one of the issues of interpreting history in the ways we want it, rather than looking at it in an academical point of view. So regional variations. Now it is 5:29, almost 5:30. Let me just see how many slides are there remaining. Okay, only a bit more, so I will go quickly. Within 10 minutes, we can start the quiz. Okay, so regional variations. Not everything that happened here happened all across India. Okay, so in certain areas of India, this partition was extremely bloody. Okay, we can see huge violence in especially the Punjab region. Bengal also, we see similar issues. Okay, but Bengal, there was some difference. Many Bengali Hindus remained in eastern Pakistan, while many Bengali Muslims continued to live in West Bengal. Okay, compared to the northwestern frontier, things in eastern region of India, especially the Bengal region, was comparatively better. I mean, Navkhali is an exception, but otherwise, there were some Hindus who still continued to live in Eastern Bengal, and some Muslims who continued to live in West Bengal. Okay, so that was the difference of Bengal from Pakistan. Bengali Muslims rejected Jinnah's two-nation theory through political action, breaking away from Pakistan and creating Bangladesh in 1971-72. We know about this. I mean, the second Indo-Pak war happened around this time, and India won the war. Pakistan lost, and they were forced to give independence to Bangladesh. Okay, and Bangladesh became a new nation. Okay, so Muhammad Ali Jinnah's two-nation theory was not accepted by the Bangladeshi Muslims. Similarly, between Punjab and Bengal experiences, women and girls became prime targets of persecution. Both in Punjab as well as in Bengal, women and children were the targets. Why? Because if you hunt down women and girls, it means that it is something like conquering a territory. Okay, attackers treated women's bodies as territory to be conquered. Dishonoring women of a community was seen as dishonoring the community itself and a mode of taking revenge. Earlier I told you, the concept of honor is dependent on woman and land. So attacking a woman and conquering or violating a woman was considered as conquering a territory, thereby humiliating the other religion, clear, or other community. So many people often targeted women and girls in the Bengal and Punjab regions during partition. Help, humanity and harmony. So far we looked into the bad things that happened during partition, but there were some good things also. I mean, there were some pleasant experiences also that happened in the partition time. Example, help, humanity, harmony. Buried under the debris of violence, there are histories of help, humanity and harmony. Numerous stories of how people helped each other after the partition, etc. came into light soon afterwards. Next example is Khushdeva Singh, a Sikh doctor specializing in the treatment of tuberculosis, posted in Dharampur in present-day Himachal Pradesh. You can read the experience from your NCERT textbook. Detailed recollection is given there. It is about this doctor who helped all of them. Okay, irrespective of religion or caste, this person treated everybody with honor, treated everybody equally, and all the factions, all the people liked him. Okay, on both sides, on Pakistani Muslim side as well as non-Muslim side. Similarly, the memoir he entitled "Love is Stronger Than Hate: A Remembrance of 1947." Okay, this is the book. This is the memoir written by Khushdeva Singh about the partition experiences and his services during that time. So, oral testimonies and history. So, I told you at the beginning of this chapter, most of the things that are explained in this chapter are based on oral sources. Problem is, oral narratives has many drawbacks. Okay, so oral narratives, memoirs, diaries, family histories, first-hand written documents, etc., has many drawbacks. Okay, we cannot rely completely on constitutional division or just party politics of Muslim League or Congress or etc. to recreate history. Okay, we cannot go by government records alone. We cannot go by political documents alone. Okay, because unexpected alterations in the life as it unfolds between 1946 and 1950 requires a much more understanding of psychological, emotional and social adjustments. Political, the government records, court records, etc. will give us correct data, ample data, reliable data maybe. Okay, it will give us information and data about what happened. Okay, we can simply look at a particular piece of paper and say, okay, 3 lakh people died that day, 4 lakh people died this day, fine. That is mere data, mere numbers. But when you rely on oral traditions, it is not anymore mere numbers. Even if one person dies, it has a lot to do with psychology, emotion, and society. Okay, so the story actually becomes more and more horrifying and more real when we hear the story from a survivor. Okay, so one of the strengths of this personal remnants, that is one type of oral evidence, is that it helps us grasp the experience and memories in detail. Okay, impossible to extract this kind of information from government documents. We cannot extract this kind of emotion by reading a government journal or a newspaper article. Okay, we can understand this only when we talk to the person who survived this. There were plenty of instances regarding the same in Germany. The Jews who survived the concentration camps of Hitler, when they recounted the story to the world actually understood how horrifying it was in Germany. Until then, nobody had any clue. Okay, some reports were there here and there, but other than that, only when people actually started recounting the stories did they really understood how horrifying Hitler was. Okay, so the latter deal with the policy and party matters and various state-sponsored schemes. So basically, government documents deal with very abstract things such as government policies, matters, state-sponsored schemes, etc., etc. So in the polity side, we can use these documents for academics, but to understand the reality of what was happening in ground zero, we need oral traditions. Histories that we read often regard the life and work of mass of the people in the past as inaccessible or unimportant. Also correct. This is what I told you while I taught medieval India and ancient India. We do not come across many things, we do not come across anything that is written by common man. Okay, I mean, we come across court records or say famous manuscripts, etc., etc., which were actually written by top sections of the society, the ruling class, or brahmanas, etc., etc. We do not come across anything like that which is written by common man. Okay, so most often historians find it inaccessible either, or sometimes they think that it is unimportant. I mean, we got everything that we want from the political archives and all, so why do we need some personal journals of common man? Okay, so it was considered as unimportant. So many dismiss it because oral data seems to lack concrete and chronology they yield may be imprecise. Also correct. People believe that when you recollect something from memory, it may not be complete. Also, you may not be able to keep that timeline. I mean, I can recollect something from 2008, 2007, but then I can recollect something else. I'm not sure when it happened, after that or before that. Okay, I may not be able to keep track of everything in a chronological fashion in my mind. So this is a major drawback of using oral traditions. Similarly, uniqueness of personal experiences cannot be generalized. If one person had a very bad experience, we cannot say the entire society faced the same. Okay, generalization is not possible based on individual experiences. Fine. So this is a valid argument. Oral accounts are concerned with tangential issues, and that small individual experiences which remain in memory are irrelevant to the unfolding of larger process of history. So some historians believe that these individual experiences is not that much important when it comes to the big picture. Okay, the big picture is total violence, etc., etc., communalism, split partition of India, etc., etc. But when you look at this big picture, individual experiences doesn't exactly matter. Okay, that is what at least some historians believe. Furthermore, if history has to accord presence to ordinary and powerless, then the oral history of partition is not concerned with tangential matter. Okay, so basically, historians often did not want to too much rely on oral traditions, but later on we see that many historians actually tried to look into these oral traditions to get more in-depth and more hands-on experience or hands-on exposure to what happened around these time periods. Okay, so last slide for the day. So however, the oral data on partition are not automatically or easily available. I mean, obviously, do you really want, do you think that a woman will actually retell the story of what happened to her in these cruel times? If she might have been raped, do you think that she will openly admit it to a complete stranger who is trying to collect data? I mean, if a person has to share her personal experience with somebody else, then that somebody else must be a close person, right? A close friend or a family person, right? So it is not easy for historians and scholars to go there and simply ask what happened, etc., etc. It is not easy to get that data. So the academicians will have to use their skills, their sympathy and their feelings, etc., etc., to get these first-hand experiences. Fine. Also, there are problems of memory. People may not often be able to recollect everything that has happened. They might forget some important things, and that might be a gap. There might be a gap in the story. In the final analysis, Many different kinds of source materials have to be used to construct comprehensive account of partition. So basically, what we are saying is, while constructing the history of a particular period, it is vital to look into all the available resources, not just oral resources or not just governmental records. We have to look at almost all the resources that are available to us, and then try to converge them somewhere at some point where they meet. Because British version will not be the Indian version. Indian version will not be the Pakistani version. Everything will be different. So study it through all these versions and then try to reason it out, which seems to be the most likely. Okay, that is the way we should look history. We should never study history from a single perspective. We should always keep our mind open and see it through all the spectacles that we can. Okay, so by that, I think I will stop the theory class here. So we have completed the partition section of our theory class for the day. Now the second session is the quiz. Okay, so tomorrow the last chapter of NCERT class 12 history will be taken. That is regarding the framing of our constitution. Okay, framing of our constitution. That is the final session for NCERT history series. All other textbooks has been completed in the previous months. So tomorrow is the final session of this series. So make sure to attend it. Also, now let's start the quiz. Sorry about that. Some network issues has happened in between. I had to change the network. Okay. Sorry for that. Okay, the quiz is actually going on. 4 people have joined so far. Really sorry about that network issue. I had to change the connection. My broadband, some issues with the broadband. Okay, that is why that gap happened in between. Now I am back online. Question number 7 is on the board. Quiz has already begun. 6 questions are done. 7th one is going on. So how to join the quiz? The instructions are given in this slide. Please follow that to join the quiz. Download the app from Google Play or App Store, Unacademy Learning App. Click the plus tab, which is available in the menu in the top left corner of your screen. Click the test tab, which will appear at the bottom portion of your screen. And finally, hit the join quiz button and enter this code 574109. Okay. Yeah. Is going on. Iripatti, land revenue from which was set apart for the maintenance of village tank. 2. Taniyur, villages donated to a single Brahmin or group of Brahmins. 3. Gatikas, colleges generally attached to temples. Select the correct answer. So the topic for today's quiz is medieval India, and it is happening. Okay. Medieval India quiz is progressing. 4 people so far attending the quiz. Sri Sindhil Devi reading the quiz. We have Seema Shetty second place. 9th question. Regarding the taxation system of Krishnadevaraya, the ruler of Vijayanagar, consider the following statements. 1. The tax rate of land was fixed depending on the quality of the land. 2. Private owners of workshops paid an industry tax. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? I have asked the same question actually in my medieval India quizzes, I think last week sometime. Let's see how many of you remember this. Okay. All of you should get this right because the same question was asked in UPSC also. This is a UPSC 2018 question. So, yeah, time is up. How many got this right? Oh, okay. Majority got that right. Fine. Both are correct. Okay, option C was the correct answer there. 10th question. Building Kalyana Mandapas was notable feature in the temple construction in the kingdom of Dash. Another very simple question. Kalyana Mandapas. very beautifully carved sculptures are all present in these Kalyana Mandavas. And Raya Gopurams, okay. Basically, both Kalyana Mandavams and Raya Gopurams are essentially features of architectural style of one particular dynasty. Which is it? Chalukya, Chandela, Rashtrakuta, Vijayanagara. Very easy question, very direct question. Time is up. So correct answer is option D, Vijayanagara. Okay, Raya Gopurams, the lofty gateways, and the Kalyana Mandavas are all part of Vijayanagara kingdom. Kalyana Mandavas, you know, right? Wedding hall. Sri Senthil Devi still leading, Vishnu second place, Shima Shetty third place. 11th question. Consider the following statements. 1. Saint Nimbaraka was a contemporary of Akbar. 2. Saint Kabir was greatly influenced by Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So this is regarding some medieval India saints. Okay, Kabir and Nimbaraka. Again a UPSC question, previous year UPSC question, I think 2018 only. Let's see how many can get this right. This is very important. When you study history, you have to understand who were the contemporaries. You have to have some idea about when that person lived, which century, or at least a rough idea. So time is up. Correct answer is option D, none of the above. Let's see how many got that. Okay, nobody got that. Option D was the correct answer. Question number 12. With reference to the cultural history of India, consider the following statements. 1. White marble was used in making Buland Darwaza and Kanka at Fatehpur Sikri. 2. Red sandstones and marble were used in making Bara Imambara and Rumi Darwaza at Lucknow. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? I think this is a fairly easy question regarding the architectural activities in medieval India. Okay, Buland Darwaza and Baba Imambara. Okay, Bara Imambara. So what is the correct answer? Question number 12 is going on. In order to get detailed answers with answer keys, kindly participate in this quiz using the following instructions. Okay, only those participants who participate in this quiz using Unacademy learning app will get full detailed explanation of answers. Okay, I mean the answers are provided in the app only with explanations. So there is no PDF or anything that I can upload. 13th question. Consider the following statements regarding medieval Indian records. 1. The accounts of Minhaj-e-Siraj, Ziauddin Barani and Ibn Battuta are written in Persian. 2. Ain-i-Akbari was the autobiography of Akbar dealing with his administration. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Another easy question. Second statement is very easy. First statement, Minhaj-e-Siraj, Ziauddin Barani and Ibn Battuta all wrote in Persian. That is what it says. So time is up. So how many got that? Yeah, 2 of you got it right. Question number 14 is on the board. Consider the following statements regarding tantric practices during medieval India. 1. Tantric practices were open to women and men, and practitioners often ignored differences of caste and class within the ritual context. 2. Those engaged in tantric practices frequently ignored the authority of Vedas. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So tantric practices, another important area in your medieval Indian history. Also, there is this tantric sect in Buddhism also. Okay, I think you know about that, Vajrayana Buddhism. So there is something common to all these. And I will just fix this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Question number 15 is going on. Consider the following statements regarding Bhakti saints. 1. Chaitanya, a Bengal reformer, believed that a devotee can feel the presence of God through song and dance and love and devotion. Second one, Tukaram was a Bhakti saint of Assam whose poetry was devoted to Vittala or Vitobha, an avatar of Hindu god Vishnu. Sorry. Choose the correct answer. Question number 15. Yep, time is up. Sri Devi is still leading the quiz. 16th question. Arrange the following events in chronological order. 1. Pakistan Resolution. 2. Desai Pan. 3. August Offer. 4. Individual Satyagraha. So if you have attended today's and Friday's class, you will know the answer to this question. Okay. Individual Satyagraha, August Offer, Desai Liaquat Pan, Pact, everything I talked about on Friday. Pakistan Resolution I told you today. So if you have attended these two classes, you should definitely get the answer to this one. Easy question. 16th one. Time is up. Sorry. With reference to Vijayanagara Empire, consider the following statements. 1. It was established in 14th century by brothers Harihara and Bukka. The empire was located on the banks of Godavari river. The use of Sanskrit was officially denounced and local languages were preferred by the empire. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Easy question again. I mean, the question may be a bit confusing, but if you look at the options, this is very easy because you can straight away eliminate many particular options. Okay, so this is actually the second part of this session. Theory part is completed. NCERT History Class 12, Chapter 5 has been completed. So this is the second part where we are dealing with the Unacademy app quiz on medieval India. How to join this quiz? The instructions are given here. Please read them and join the quiz. 18th question. With reference to the policies and reforms initiated by Alauddin Khalji, consider the following statements. 1. Introduction of system of Dag and Hulia was his military reform. 2. He laid the foundation of Diwan-i-Arz, market department, and Diwan-i-Riyasat, a separate military department. 3. He was the first Sultan of Delhi who ordered for the measurement of land. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Those participants who participate in this quiz using Unacademy Learning app will get detailed answers with explanations at the end of this quiz in the app itself. Okay, so kindly download the app and join the quiz. The instructions are given in the PowerPoint presentation right here. Question number 19. Which of the following statements is not correct regarding Sufism? Option A. Sufism was a liberal reform movement within Islam. B. Sufism stressed the elements of love and devotion as an effective means of realization of God. C. Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti was the famous Sufi saint who settled in West Bengal, which became the center of his activities. And D. Suhrawadi order was established in India by Bahauddin Zakanya. Choose the correct answer. Regarding Sufism. Time's up. Time is up. And yes, one more person has joined the quiz. Prabha. Welcome, Prabha. Sri Devi and Vishnu battling it out for first place. 20th question. There are 50 questions, okay? 20th question. Consider the following statements regarding Arya Samaj. 1. It was founded by Swami Dayananda Saraswati in 1875. 2. It was established to revive the study of Vedas and to promote monotheism. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Regarding Arya Samaj. Very important organization. Easy question also. I mean, I know this is from modern India, but still, I think you should be able to answer this. Time is up. All right. Yep. Most of you got that right. Very good. Top 3 got that right. Question number 21. In the context of Vijayanagara Empire, the term Amaram refers to what? This is another question that I asked in my previous, Unacademy lecture series. Option A, a religious tax collected for the construction of temples. B, land granted to Nayaks or the oligarchs for their service to the ruler. C, a status given to the kings for commemorating their contributions. D, a festival organized throughout Vijayanagara Empire. So what is Amaram? Easy question. 3 seconds remaining. Yep, time's up. So basically it is a land grants given to Nayakas and Poligas. Okay, option B is the correct answer. Let's see how many got that. Amaram. Yeah, most of you got it. Really good, very good, very good. Most of you got that. Sri Sandal Devi has crossed the 1000 mark there. Question number 22. The French traveller Bernier described which of the following cities as Athens of India? Okay, the French traveller Bernier described which of the following cities as Athens of India? Option A, Pataliputra. Option B, Varanasi. Option C, Srinagar. Option D, Madurai. I think this is given in the India Poonam Dalal Lahiya sir's textbook, ma'am's textbook, sorry. Okay. Athens of India. Bernier described a particular Indian city as Athens of India. Which is it? Pataliputra, Varanasi, Srinagar, Madurai. Detailed answers with key will be provided at the end of this session in the app itself. So kindly join the quiz using Unacademy Learning app. 23rd question. The poets Amir Khusru and Amir Hassan during the medieval Indian history were patronized by who among the following? Amir Khusru and Amir Hassan. Option A, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Option B, Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Option C, Alauddin Khalji. Option D, Balban. Again, simply remember, Amir Khusru was given the title Std-Hind by which ruler? If you remember that, you can get the answer to this one also. Easy question. Time is up. Correct answer is option C, Alauddin Khalji. Okay, Alauddin Khalji patronized Amir Khusru and Amir Hassan. Std-Hind was the title given to Amir Khusru by Alauddin Khalji. So both Sri Sandal Devi and Vishnu have crossed 1000 mark. Shima Setti has crossed 500. 24th question. Consider the following pairs. Ibn Battuta, Morocco. Niccolo di Conti, Venetian. Abdul Razak, Italy. Which of the above pairs are correctly matched? So the travelers and the country, very important, okay? Travelers, their country, on whose reign did they come to India? All these are very important. Okay. So Ibn Battuta, Morocco. Niccolo di Conti, Venetia. Abdul Razak, Italy. I think this is a pretty direct one. Okay, very easy. Yeah, it's a pretty easy one. Time's up. Vishnu has taken the lead there. Very good. The 25th question. We are at 50%. Which of the following statements is or are not correct regarding Bhakti Saint Chaitanya? Option A. Chaitanya was a great devotee of Lord Krishna and was a saint from Bengal. B. His followers regarded him as incarnation of Lord Vishnu. C. He popularized Sankirtan or public singing of God's name. And 4. His teachings were compiled in the book known as Bijak. So which of the statements is not true about Chaitanya? That is the question. Easy question actually, very easy question. Time is up, so I will tell you the answer. Answer is option D. Because BJP is the composition of Kabir, okay, not Chaitanya. Alright, moving on. 26th question is about to come up. Which of the following statements is or are not true about Sufism? Option A. Sufism was a liberal reform movement within Islam. B. Sufism stressed the elements of love and devotion as an effective means of realization of God. C. Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti was the famous Sufi saint who settled in West Bengal, which became the center of his activities. And D. Suhrawadi order was established in India by Bahauddin Sakanya. Easy question. Sufism. Regarding Sufism, which of these statements is or are not correct? Easy question. 26th. There are 50 questions. Those who wish to participate in this quiz, kindly join the quiz using the following instructions. Okay, just read the instructions and do accordingly and participate. The participants will get complete detailed answer keys at the end of the session in the app itself. 27. Consider the following statements. 1. The village assemblies were present during the Chola period. 2. The village was divided into wards and each was to nominate its members to the village council. 3. The qualifications and disqualifications to become a ward member were also mentioned in the inscriptions. Select the correct answer. So we understand a lot about Chola administration from the Uttarameru inscriptions. Okay. So choose the correct answer from the above given statements. Yep, time's up. 28th question is on the board. The Sultan Mahmud bin Tughlaq introduced the department named Diwan-e-Amir Kohi with which of the following objectives? Option A. Improving military administration. Option B. To control and monitor markets. Option C. Introduce token currency in Delhi Sultanate. D. To improve cultivation in the Doab. Diwan-e-Amir Kohi. What is it? If you know the answer to that, you will get the answer to this. Question 10 seconds remaining. 28th question is going on. There are 50 questions. Time is up. Diwan-e-Amir Kohi is basically the Department of Agriculture. Okay, so correct answer is option D. To improve cultivation. Only a very few amount of people got that right. 29. Who among the following captured Madurai and took the title Madurantagam or Destroyer of Madura and Madurai Konda, Capturer of Madurai? Option A. Vijayalaya. Option B. Aditya I. Option C. Parantaka I. Option D. Sundara Chola. Vijayalaya, Aditya I, Parantaka, Sundara Chola. So who is known as Madurai Konda? Easy question, I think, or maybe it's difficult. Okay, I will mark this as a difficult question because it's not easy to eliminate. Yes, Vishnu still leading, commendable lead there, 1630. Srisandal Devi second place, Seema Shetty third place. 30th question. Consider the following statements regarding Chola administration. 1. Chola administration was greatly facilitated by the Shrenis or guilds. 2. The capital of Cholas was Madurai as per the Uttarameru inscriptions. 3. As per Chola royal family tradition, the eldest son succeeded the father to the Chola throne. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Again, simple question. Time's up. Alright. (31) Bhima I was a Chalukya king who ruled parts of present-day Gujarat. Consider the following statements about Bhima I. 1. During his reign, Mahmud of Ghazni overran Gujarat and plundered Somnath in 1025 Common Era. 2. He built the Rani Ki Vav in his wife's memory, which is on the list of UNESCO's World Heritage Sites. Select the correct answer. Time's up. Okay, not many got that right. It's okay. 32. Consider the following statements about Iltutmish, the Sultan of Delhi. 1. He is regarded as the real founder of Delhi Sultanate. 2. He expanded his empire from Bengal to Sindh and Himalayas to Vindhyas. 3. He laid the foundation of a centralized vast kingdom in North India, first time after Harshavardhana. Which of these statements given above is or are correct? Regarding Iltutmish. Time's up. Okay, no, I don't think anybody got that right. To 33rd question. The objective behind introducing the ceremony of Sijada and Paibos by Ghiyasuddin Balban was dash. Option A. To better administer the tax administration in the empire. B. Maintaining law and order situation. C. To establish the authority of the rulers in the minds of people. And D. None of the above. So what is Sijada and what is Paibos? Sijada is basically prostration. Okay, complete prostration. And Paibos is kissing the feet of the Sultan. So what is the answer? Easy guesses. Option C. Okay. 33rd question going on. We are, 33rd question completed. Yeah, many got that right. Very good. 34. Which of the following personalities of medieval times had minted the images of goddess Lakshmi on one side and his name in Nagari script on the other side? Muhammad of Ghori, Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Alauddin Khalji. Lakshmi on one side and his name in the Nagari script on other side. Ghori, Aibak, Iltutmish, Alauddin Khalji. 34th question going on. If anybody who is watching this quiz through YouTube would like to participate in this quiz, please switch over to Unacademy Learning app. The instructions on how to join the quiz is given here in the PPT. Please read it. Yeah, Vishnu is still leading. Srisindal Devi catching up. Shima Setti at the 3rd place. Prabhayaka also catching up. Very good. 35th question. Consider the following statements regarding Muhammad bin Tughlaq. 1. The Sultanate was attacked by Mongols in the early years of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign. 2. He constructed a number of garrisons towards Delhi to station his army. 3. Muhammad bin Tughlaq paid his soldiers in kind instead of cash. Choose the correct answer. Thirty-fifth question. Time is up. Okay, not many got that right. 36. Which of the following statements is or are correct regarding Sher Shah Suri? 1. He challenged and defeated the Mughal Emperor Babur and established his own dynasty. 2. Sher Shah's administration became the model followed by Emperor Akbar when he consolidated the Mughal Empire. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Okay, Sher Shah, Alauddin Khalji and Akbar are all closely related in certain levels. Okay, at least based on administration. So if you know that, you can know the answer to this question. 36th question is on the board. Yeah, time is up. Alright. Yep. Oh, Vishnu got that wrong. Seasonal Devi got it right, I think. 37th question is on the board. Consider the following statements about Iltutmish. 1. He introduced Iqtadari system in which the empire was divided into big and small Iqtas, which was distributed to his Turkish officers. 2. He also introduced coins called Tanka, silver, and Jital, copper. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Dear learners who are watching this quiz through YouTube, kindly switch over to Unacademy learning app and directly participate. The participants who join the quiz using the Unacademy learning app will get the detailed explanation of all these answers in the app itself. Okay? Yes. Vishnu still leading. 38th question. Consider the following statements about Iltutmish. 1. He was the first to introduce a pure Arabic coin in India. 2. The silver tanga issued by him weighted 175 grains. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Iltutmish is a very important ruler. You have to study about him in detail. So is Alauddin Khalji, so is Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Balban. Okay. Last 3 seconds. Yeah, time is up. 38th question completed. All right. Prabha and Seema both crossed 1000 mark there. 39th question is on the board. Who headed the judicial department during Mughal period? Very simple question. Who headed judicial department during Mughal period? Option A, Qazi. Option B, Mir Manshi. Option C, Vakya Navis. Option D, Diwan. Very easy question. 39. Time is up. So what is the answer? How many got that? Option A. Okay, yeah, majority went for it and it is correct. Option A. Okay, Kasi. Alright, now 4000 plus scores are there. Very good. Divya joined later, so it's fine. 40th question. Who among the following was the chief Qazi during the reign of Akbar? Option A, Bairang Khan. Option B, Abdul Nabi. Option C, Jamal Khan. Option D, Aziz Khan Kuka. So who among the following was the chief Qazi during the reign of Akbar? Bairang Khan, Abdul Nabi, Jamal Khan, Aziz Khan Kuka. Last 5 seconds. And time is up. So tomorrow the last theory class, okay? Last theory session on NCERT is on tomorrow. Yep, time's up. 41. Consider the following statements regarding Mamluks with reference to Delhi Sultanate period. 1. They were the warrior slaves of Turkish origin who had embraced Islam. 2. Their social status was very low and because of that they never enjoyed emperorship. Sorry. Select the incorrect statement. Okay, you have to choose the incorrect statement. Very important. Don't miss that. Last 3 seconds. Yeah, time is up. Not many got that right. It's okay. I think most of you missed that. You are asked for incorrect statement. 42nd question. Arrange the following events into correct chronological order. 1. Birth of Vaishnavite Bhakti Saint Ramananda. 2. Compilation of Adi Granth. 3. Construction of Ibadat Khana. 4. Foundation of Chishti order. This is a difficult question. It's not that much easy for you to arrange this. But anyway, try it, okay? Last 3 seconds. Time's up. Yeah, not many got that right. I think only one person got that right. It's a difficult question, I told you. It's alright, okay. Question number 43. Consider the following statements about Ibn Battuta's account of India. 1. The highways were safe from robbery and other crimes. 2. Coconut fiber found in India was strong, that it was used for making ropes which pulled ships. 3. Indian textiles such as fine muslins were in great demand in Asian markets. 4. Horses and human runners were often used to dispatch goods required in short notice. Choose the correct answer. So based on Ibn Battuta's account on India, choose the correct statements. Easy question, I think. Yeah, time is up. Let's see how many got that right this time. Wow, not many. Okay. 44th question. Consider the following matches of important officials in the Mughal Empire and their responsibilities. 1. Fatedar, Treasurer. Diwan-i Risalat, Army Commander. Karkoons, Engineering Structures. Diwan-i Insha, Minister for Communication. Which of the pairs given is or are correctly matched? You have to study the names of these officers, okay? Not just Mughals, but also Delhi Sultanate, Gupta's time, Maurya's time, then Marathas, okay? All these people have different names for these officials. Be very careful with that. 44th question done. Yeah, only one person. No, nobody got that. Okay, fine, it's fine. 45. Consider the following statements about rural institutions in medieval India. 1. The village panchayats represented only the most dominant caste in the village. 2. The village headman was to be compulsorily nominated by the Subedar who headed the Parganas. 3. The panchayat could derive its fund from contributions made by community residents to a common financial pool. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Easy question. Again, 45th question. Regarding the rural institutions in medieval India, choose the correct answer. Time is up. Alright, Vishnu crossing 2000 mark there. Very good. 46th question. Last 5 questions. The Dasara Dibba is one of the most impressive structures in Hampi. Dasara Dibba. It was used for which one of the following purposes by the king? 1. Watching army marches and war games. 2. Performing sacred yajnas. Select the correct answer. Dasara Dibba, also known by another name, Mahanavami Dibba. Okay, or say Navaratri Dibba. These are important in Vijayanagara kingdom. Why? What was its purpose? 46 questions down. Yeah, time's up. Alright, not many got that right. 47th question is about to come. Consider the following statements regarding a king. 1. Portuguese travelers Domingo Paes and Fernando Nunes visited his empire. 2. The South Indian mathematician Nilakanta Somayaji lived in his empire. Select the correct answer. Fairly easy. First statement is basically a giveaway. Okay, I don't know if you know about Nilakanta Somayaji, but still, Portuguese traveler Domingo Paes and Nunes. From there you can get it. Pradipala, Navadeva Mahishmati, Rajaraja 1, Krishnadevaraya. Very easy, very easy. How many got that? 60% went for option D, Krishnadevaraya. Yes. Okay, very good. 48. Last 3 questions. Miftah-ul-Futuh, composed by Amir Khusru, describes dash. Option A military campaigns of Jalaluddin Khalji. B. The meeting between Burkha Khan and Kaikubad. C. Alauddin Khalji's conquest of Chittor. D. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq's achievements. Miftah-ul-Futuh. I think nobody will put C as the answer because everybody knows that Alauddin Khalji's conquest of Chittor is the story, subject matter of Malik Muhammad Jaisi's Padmavat. Okay, at least from the movies you would know this. So I know that you won't give the answer as option C. So it is one of the other 3. Okay, let's see how many get this. Oh, I think one person actually gave option C there. That's unfortunate. Last but first question, penultimate question for the day coming up, 49. Consider the following statements regarding the practice of Jarokha Darshan by Akbar in Mughal Empire. Okay, number 1. It was the common practice for an emperor to begin the day by Jarokha Darshan. 2. Akbar carefully managed his time in order to make himself accessible to the people and to the ministers. 3. Large crowd assembled daily to have a glimpse on the ruler. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Very general question, very vague statements. So very easy, basically very easy. 49th question. Yep, time's up. Only one more question to go for in this day's class. So today we have looked into the partition of India in the theory classes at the beginning. So tomorrow the last chapter from NCERT history textbook. We started all the way from class 6 NCERT onwards. Tomorrow is class 12 NCERT final chapter, that is framing of the Indian constitution. Okay, so 50 out of 50. Last question. Which Mughal emperor introduced the concept of Sul-i-Kul? Easiest question. Option A Jahangir, B Humayun, C Aurangzeb, D none of the above. Final question for the day, very simple. Make sure to get this right. Sul-i-Kul. Jahangir, Humayun, Aurangzeb, none of the above. I think all of you will get this correct. Come on, how many got that? I think I want everybody to get that right. Let's see how many can get it. 100%? No. Yeah, somebody got that wrong also. Basically, it is option D. It is Akbar. Okay, no, none of the others. So that is it. Thank you for joining. The quiz is entered. Second part of our session has also done. So today's winner is Vishnu with 2,272 points. Second place Risnal Devi. Third place Prabhaika. Seema Shetty with 1,000 plus points at fourth place, and Divya joined very late but still managed to get 778 points. Really great performance. Shraddha, I think, has to live in between. Anyway, In order to see the solutions of all these questions, simply click the solutions button here. Okay, click the solutions tab. You can see the questions once again, and you can also see all the, by clicking the arrow adjacent to the question, you can see the detailed explanation of answers as well. Fine. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining. So tomorrow again, we will meet at 4 p.m. Today at 8 p.m. I have another Medieval India quiz session in Unacademy Learning app. Please join that 8 p.m. session. In order to get the class links and updates, please subscribe to my Telegram channel t.me/MSRW1. It is given here. Okay. Also, please use my code MSRW1 in order to get 10% discount on Unacademy subscriptions. Also, to unlock the free stuffs in Unacademy. Many of the Unacademy free stuffs are actually locked. You can unlock them using an educator code. Please provide the code MSRW1. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for joining. See you all again tomorrow. Until then, bye bye.